Lords, it's a great pleasure to follow the noble lady Baroness Sheehan, and like her, I will briefly speak to support amendments 1, 5, 15 and 33 in the names of the noble Lord Lucas and the noble lady Baroness Gardner of Frognall, and to agree with the noble lady Baroness Morris of Yardley's comments on those, that the bill still very much lacks a clear vision of the structure we're trying to create. But I rise mainly to speak in favour of Amendment 85 in the names of the noble Lord Lucas and also Baronesses Hayman, Blackstone and Sheehan, noting that it has full cross-party and non-party support, and indeed I would have added my name had there been space available to it. It's interesting that the last national skills audit was more than a decade ago, but even then, conservation and environmental protection officers were actually the top of the list of a growing area of demand. Town planners were also high on the list. Since then, of course, austerity has hit local government extremely hard. And as we was discussing yesterday in the Environment Bill, they're not currently funded adequately to meet their existing, let alone upcoming, responsibilities under the bill. And that's undoubtedly had an impact on the demand for jobs. Yet I note that this debate comes at a particularly timely occasion, given it's the day after the release of the Green Jobs Task Force report, that does at least some of the job that this amendment proposes. Although its focus is purely on the climate emergency, not on the biodiversity crisis, or the way in which a systems approach show these how problems link with many of the other issues in our society. It's also very much a report that reflects a business as usual with added technology approach, failing to acknowledge the need for economic and social innovation and the skills that go with those. So it talks about engineers and construction workers for offshore wind farms and nuclear plants, the retrofitters for homes to make them energy efficient and comfortable, the car mechanics servicing electric vehicles and vans. There's many other jobs we clearly need that aren't covered within that. Yet I find myself again with this bill. The focus narrowly on jobs is a dangerous mistake. What this amendment talks about is a strategic audit for what does the country actually need. Just to start to think of some examples that come off the top of my head, we need to have far more gardening skills for food growing, for managing the home gardens that are so crucial to our biodiversity and the survival and thriving of so many of our species. We need community building skills for resilience, for climate adaptation. I think of the city of Lancaster, where a few years ago I chaired for the Greenhouse Think Tank, a session examining the experience of the disastrous floods there in 2015 and the community response. A training session based on what Lancaster learned the very hard way for every community in this land would be a very good idea. We also clearly need, for that kind of resilience that the future is going to demand of us, and I'd point, noble lords, to the tragic events happening in Germany right now as we speak, we need community building skills. The divisions in our society and the social issues that have come to the fore so much in recent weeks are real barriers to tackling the climate emergency and the nature crisis. Something else very practical that comes to mind is first aid. These are skills we need in every community, just about every person in this land. So, my lords, I'm still not sure even this amendment is as broad as it needs to be, but it's a good start as an acknowledgement that we need skills for jobs, at least, in many different areas, and we need to think much more broadly in a systems comprehensive kind of way. Thank you, my lords.